story. Is it early for you all? No, you start real early, right? It is so exciting to see what's happening. If I had my clicker, I'd be in good shape. Whoever's got that, I'll kind of talk a little bit while they bring me my clicker. He's coming right now. But anyway, I've only got a little bit of time. I got a lot of stuff I want to cover with you. Most of it's about, thank you, sir. Most of it's about being fired up. Are you fired up?
Yes!
I used to say if you're not fired up in one of these meetings, you're woods wet, but I don't say that anymore. Because it may not be totally appropriate. I want to talk to you about transforming your mind, heart, and work. That's your theme. Amazing how that works. I got it on the slide. Unbelievable. Listen, let me tell you a story about the first time that happened to me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
My wife and I went to a year-end meeting, my first year-end meeting in 1977 at Tanterra Lake of the Ozarks. And let me tell you about this meeting. First of all, I spent about 5-6 years with another company, a retail company, and I got so tired of moving to another town to run another store because Walmart opened up that one day the district manager of Walmart came in and offered me a job, and I said, well, yeah. They told me they was going to pay me $15,000 a year, and I only had to work 72 hours, and that was a $600 raise from what I had, so I took it. I was excited. But here's what happened. We went to that year-end meeting, and I got to see Sam Walton talk. And I was taken immediately, ladies and gentlemen. It was unbelievable. They paid for our babysitter to go to that meeting. My wife and I, my wife for 43 years, my high school sweetheart. We looked at, yeah, hey, that's a long time. She should be saying it. We sit there and listen to this. Mr. Walton said these things, I'll never forget it. We're going to open 42 stores this year. And every time we open a store, we got to have a new store manager, and that store manager comes from this group. Every time we open 10, we got to have a district manager. It comes from the store manager ranks, and that creates another opportunity for you folks. I was assistant manager. I was excited to hear all that. And every time we open 40 stores, we got to have a new regional vice president. That comes from the district manager ranks. And listen, the company I came from, somebody had to quit or unfortunately pass away before we got an opportunity to get a store. We weren't opening any stores. We were running scared, and I looked at my wife and said, this is where I want to be the rest of my life. We got emotional about it because it was so tremendous. And that's the day that I decided that I could learn the job, but my job then was to learn it and transfer it to here, right here in my heart. And once I got that done, everything I did, every way I acted was appropriate as it relates to the directions that we were given by our chairman and our president, Jack Shoemaker, and Don Soderquist and David Glass. I want to show you a couple of things. I want to relive some things from the past. Those are the logos of your company that go back to 1962. If you'll look up in the top left-hand corner, you'll see that old logo that was on Store 1, 1962, when it opened. And the one that's near and dear to my heart is just to the right of that, and that's the Western Scroll logo that was up there for a long, long time. And as the company's transformed, we got down to 1980 and opened 2 stores. We used a consultant called Alton P. Duty, and we changed our colors from blue and white to snickerdoodle, orange and brown. Truly, the color was snickerdoodle. It was kind of a beige. Y'all remember that color? That beige and that orange and brown. And then we conceptualized the super centers, and the red, blue, and white model is pretty much the same until the new logo. I'm going to move through this fairly quick. But look at this ad, man. 1962, Store 1. Look at that well-done ad. Proud of it. It generated a lot of business. 1972, the company went public. I know y'all seen this a lot, but I want to just share a couple of things with you. That's the size of the company when it went public. You know the numbers. I don't need to tell you. 1972, but here's 1980. The last year I ran Store 157, Searcy, and they moved me to Bryan, Texas as district manager. Now, if you look at the state of Texas in 1980, we had stores in Dallas, Fort Worth, but not many more south. And I moved to Bryan, and people ask me who I work for. I tell them, I say, is that like Walgreens? Oh. I go, no, not anything like that. And we set out to let them know who we were as time went on. There's 1990. Now, in 1984, when I moved to Bentonville from the field, I remember sitting in Friday morning meetings, management meetings, saying, we can't find why the Wall Street Journal will not recognize us as a major retailer. We weren't even in when sales were released, we weren't there. In 1990, we were still a regional company, and then you go to 2000, we're in all 50 states, but let me call your attention to the store count. We're in all 50 states, look at the store count. And then 10 years later, look at the store count. The backfill program, where we go out, hit a store, open it up, spread that culture, come back and backfill into smaller markets, okay? And then if you look at your international in 1990, it's 4 years before we went to Canada and acquired Woolco. That pretty much it, okay? And then you go to 2000, look how it grew. Isn't that unbelievable? Doesn't that make you proud? You're talking about exciting, unbelievable growth. And listen, go back to 78 when Mr. Walton said, hey, we're open 40 stores. And you get 40 managers. Now look at the number. Look at the opportunity. Look at the enthusiasm. And you go to 2010, look at the store count. And I'm just going to jump to 2012. And that's what you look like in the world. Isn't that unbelievable? Opportunity or what? Enthusiasm, what? But here's the thing. You know, one of the things that I wanted to do in that meeting in 78, fast forwarding, is I wanted to be that person that made a difference. And I knew a lot of my associates that worked with me, I wanted to be that person. They wanted to be that person that made a difference. And when we went to a new store and we opened it up, whose job was it to teach those associates about Walmart? It was my job. And they watch you every day. The folks that watch you, work with you, watch you every day. And they want to see that totally fired up, sold out person to the program. They want to see that because that's how they learn. We got some great training programs, but day in and day out watching us, what we do is the key. I'll give you an example. I was in Mr. Walton's office, and I did work closely with him. I don't have any Mr. Walton stories. I just have what really happened, okay? And we made a major transition while I was running store planning from a regular old checkout that was wood, and we just put the stuff up there and kind of slid it with an arm down through it. Glenn Hebron helped me do this, by the way, because he was running what was ISD at the time. And we had those belted checkouts, and ones you still got today. Belted checkouts, and man, those things worked great. But we still had paper sacks. Now, I don't know if you've tried to scan a customer's order through with paper sacks and try to bag it, but it's a job. Mr. Walton was totally committed to plastic sacks. Mel was not. I got to tell you, I thought, well, you know, we got these paper producing states, a lot of jobs. And so for about 4 weeks, he brought sacks in from all over where he traveled. And I mean, he called me down on Friday, and there'd be a stack of sacks on his desk, and he'd go, see that, Mel? And I guess maybe I didn't have the best attitude in the world about plastic sacks. I think that's fair to say. The 4th week, he called me down there and showed me the sacks. I must have been doing this because I guess my attitude wasn't real good. And all of a sudden, he took his glasses off, laid them on the desk, and said, you don't understand. You're going to change every store in the company to plastic sacks for the person who replaces you will. And I said, you're right, I didn't understand. all of a sudden, I got fired up about plastic sacks. And so I go back to my division, and I get all the division heads around, and I have the same conversation. You know, I wanted to demonstrate what needed to happen. I said, y'all don't understand. Y'all got a bad attitude about plastic sacks. Don't know where you got it, but we're going to change the entire company to plastic sacks. And they looked at me like, Mel's fired up about plastic sacks. But those kind of learning experiences that are the great memories that I have about my time there. And I'm going to give you an example. There's all the logos that you operate underneath. these logos in the world. Isn't that unbelievable? You go back to that old 1962 logo, and now that's what it looks like. What are these 900, Doug mentioned it earlier, these are 900 plus retailers. What do they all have in common? Y'all recognize any of those? Look at F.W. Woolworth. They were an international retailer. Look at W.T. Grant. Caldor up in the Northeast was a big-time discounter. Ames, Bradley's, Woolco, one time was kicking it across the United States, North America. But they're no longer in business. Doug mentioned that earlier. And I thought, my goodness, I got a slide on that. I can't believe it. They're no longer in business. Look at the top 5 retailers by decade. Remember I told you a story about 1984? Man, I know who we were. You go to 70, look at the top. Sears, 80, Sears, 90, Sears. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, here comes Walmart. Boom.